Medieval monks began with an assumption. God, they believed, was omnipotent. Therefore, if he wished, he could create angels of any size, small enough, if he so desired, to fit on the head of a pin. But because God created the universe according to immutable laws of nature, even he could not create angels that took up no room at all. No, the angels had to be of some finite size. So, the meaning of the problem was profound, regardless of the actual number of angels, which in the crude sense can be said to be like all numbers, somewhat arbitrary, even uninteresting. For example, 1729 on this train ticket is a comparatively dull number.
On the contrary, it is a very interesting number.
What's that, Miss Hazlitt? And why do you say that it is a very interesting number?
Well, it is the smallest number expressible as the sum of two cubes in two different ways.
Here's the Jordan book you inquired about, if you don't mind lugging it around.
Oh, thank you.
Muriel has an expedition to the rock pool in the works for Saturday. It would be jolly if you could come along.
Well, Saturday is not my own. I'm going home Friday to Sunday.
Oh, bad luck.
It appears you shall have to deal with Muriel on your own.
How awkward.
I'm sure you will profit by the experience. Don't look so tragic.
I have ceased getting a neurotic pleasure out of being made fun of by you.
Please excuse me. Good day, Mr. Townsend. Good morning, Mother. Good morning, Aunt Nessa. What is it?
A Picasso, dear. He's a modernist.
Seems one can't throw a brick nowadays without hitting a modernist.
Well, it was very sweet of Mr. Lawrence to think of us. It's a lovely gift.
Mr. Lawrence?
It's the son Edward. The death of his father has hurried him back from France. He was kind enough to invite you and Charlotte to his estate to view the rest of the collection he brought back.
Must I go?
Must she go?
Must she go?
Of course not, dear. Do what you think best. But he was so polite that I accepted for you, and I'm sure I did the right thing. You're too old to curtsy, Charlotte, but extend your hand and make the first gesture when you greet Mr. Lawrence.
Where have my boots been put?
I wonder where Mr. Lawrence is. I hope he remembers we were expected.
I thought I saw him in the coach house as we passed. I'll go look.
Charlotte, you mustn't.
Miss Hazlitt.
I am Miss Hazlitt.
How do you do? Edward Lawrence. I'm sorry, I ought to have been here to greet you.
It's all right.
Well, I see you've discovered my insignificant library. Yards and yards of collected sermons, in addition to Pope's Homer.
And Voltaire's correspondence.
A frightening mixture. Has your sister accompanied you?
I think Charlotte ran off in the direction of the stables.
I hope you don't mind me saying, but I'm rather overwhelmed to see you again. I mean, it has been many years since we last met. Do you remember me at all?
Yes.
I'm the boy you used to play with in the card room. I feared for a time that those moments were to form the whole sum of our acquaintance. If I recall, you couldn't abide strangers and took an instant dislike to me. You were a self-willed sort of girl, a handful, I believe they used to call you.
You recollect a great deal.
You had just had your first train journey and talked incessantly about the state of the railways.
When I was 10, I was very fond of the railways.
And where do your affections lie now that you're all grown up?
I'm often told I haven't grown up, or at least I'm taking a long time over it.
Shall I tell you a secret? I think I like you as well now as I did then.
I will take your secret to the grave, Mr. Lawrence.
We used to address each other by our Christian names. You must call me Edward. And I shall call you Sophie.
Very well. I understand that you have been abroad.
Yes. Moved by a desire to see something of life. I thought travel might improve me. I grew a beard in France, but shaved it off. It gave me an uncomfortable resemblance to the Kaiser. I was 21, I left, and totally unfit to attend to things here. And Father was spoiled for country life. Now I must endeavor to be everything that he was in his time.
Mother is always saying that a county estate must have stability, continuity, though you couldn't describe our 700 acres as an estate. A freeholding, perhaps. Do you mind? Kindly behave yourself. not tell Mother what has happened here.
Something has happened?
Go on and swear, spit as well.
I swear. And spit. There. Are we going?
Pillowed upon my fair love's ripening breast, to feel forever its soft fall and swell, awake forever to a sweet unrest, still, still to hear her tender taken breath, and so live ever, or else swoon to death. You know, the fatal mistake is trying to pretend that Keats is somehow romantic. Keats isn't romantic in the least. He's loathsomely real. I'm going to eat one of your apples.
You must take this disappointment like the popular novelist you are someday to become.
You see what that would mean if it were true?
I must confess I don't. What was your Friday to Sunday like?
I was informed whether or not the chapel ought to have a new organ loft. And oh yes, a man insulted me.
Who was it?
Mr. Collins. The comic muse is sighted on the horizon.
Wave at him, Sophie. He's smiling at you.
The fellow is positively senile.
He is odd. There's no use pretending, but his teaching is uniformly admired.
I'm astonished. What can you possibly mean by teaching?
To bring to birth what would have lain in embryo.
My head is spinning.
Get yourself under control. Try and find the least common denominator.
By least common, I take it you mean most unusual.
Aren't you curious?
Not terribly. Curiosity is dangerous. You're not going to tell me about the theory of relativity again, are you?
The bookbinder will be here on Tuesday.
Thank you, Thomas. Don't you think it would be awfully convenient if you had a telephone put in your college rooms, dear?
You're perfectly free to have a telephone if you like. And it's such a nuisance not to be able to speak to you during the week.
Yes, Mother, if you like.
I think it's high time we had a roadster.
Where do you pick up these curious expressions?
Edward has a roadster.
Dear Edward. His time abroad seems to have improved him vastly. Whenever I see him in town, he manages to ask after you, Sophie.
I've assured him that not all young women in college are socialists standing on street corners.
I don't understand what you all see in him. His manners do not have much to recommend him.
I think that is most unkind, Sophie.
It is the natural course of things that we should be courteous to our neighbors, and the Lawrences have always done so. It is on these commitments to civility that lifelong attachments are built. Have you nothing to say in reply?
I shouldn't be surprised if it rained. Yes?
Are you going to dream the morning away? Mercy, what a little beauty you are. Really, it's a sin for you to wear clothes. I'm done in. I spent the night in a field.
What an idea.
I always heard the dawn was beautiful, and I wanted to see one.
And?
Most original. I'm insufferably cheerful, though, just now. I had breakfast with Muriel, and she was so polite to me, I very nearly proposed. I think her bone structure had something to do with it.
I am a great advocate of bone structure.
I don't know if I'm in love with her, although it occasionally occurs to me that I ought to be. The intrigue is un très complicato. I suppose time will make it all very clear.
Unquestionably.
Stop fidgeting, Father.
Your mother has asked me to keep an eye on you.
In your capacity as dean of the college, or as that of my uncle?
Both?
Then, I hope you will notice the change that has taken place in me. I have become serious and sensible. Many things in regards to which I had no settled convictions I now begin to understand.
For instance?
It is evident to me that God is not what we imagine him to be. God is perhaps nature, and all events in life are directed by chance, which sometimes brings about those coincidences and events that make us believe there is a providence.
I heard it about that you boasted smoking a cigarette within the boundaries of the college on the Sabbath.
You know enough of my frankness to believe me capable of that.
When the lightning rod was invented, the Archbishop of Canterbury condemned it as an impious attempt to defeat the will of God. Lightning, you see, is sent from heaven to punish the wicked for impiety.
The virtuous are never struck by lightning?
Presumably not.
You may tell Mother that I am attending chapel occasionally so that I may not be thought a nihilist.
Anything else?
Assure her that I am studying very hard so that I may pride myself on being as learned as great men are said in their biographies to have been.
I wouldn't worry too much right now about being anything in particular. Where are you off to?
Calculus class.
You don't seem dressed for calculus, but what woman is?
What's the brightest thing in nature?
Sunlight on a leaf.
Are you on your own? Oh, I can't get it right. Is it right now? I had lunch with Mr. Lawrence. I felt the need for an escapade. Mrs. Woolridge was busy trying to interest him in her daughter. I know there's no earthly chance of that. He doesn't wish to be conspicuous, but he's the most eligible bachelor in the county.
That is hardly a subject about which I should be expected to have an opinion.
He seems devoted to his tenants and is restoring the Hall's family wing. No better place to raise children when he has them.
Do you see Mr. Lawrence often?
When I'm invited. I should like to write an essay on Lady Mary Montague. Have you heard of her? She introduced inoculation into Europe. An unjustly disregarded figure. I pray for this weather to last.
Hello. I brought over the mares that I'm training for Charlotte. I thought you might be afraid to speak to me.
I am afraid of nothing.
May I proceed?
You behave. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Would an apology have any effect?
You're not going to make excuses for yourself, I hope. It was an unpleasant incident, but I've forgotten it. And on Mother's account, I've decided to try and be friendly towards you.
Why do you treat me with such indifference?
I treat you as I treat everybody.
God, you must see how maddening it is.
I can't imagine what you mean.
Why do you say what you know is not the least true?
I've forgiven you. What more can I do? I think you'd better not. You'll do me a favor if you stop all this nonsense. Every time we see each other, it's a free-for-all.
I'm in love with you.
Must I hear this?
But it's true.
This is beyond my understanding.
Why do you persist in acting as though you were afraid of affection? As if you didn't dare face something you shouldn't reciprocate.
I've never heard of anything so ridiculous. It's too bad. Let me go! I can't bear it. This mistake must end where it does. It is my fault for allowing it to get out of hand, and now I'm bruised all over.
Promise not to try and kiss you again as it causes you pain.
Thank you.
I care for nothing except making you happy. And when I lose my head and throw myself at you in this way if I were not sincere?
I do not doubt your sincerity, but it's nothing to do with me. Your behavior has been unforgivable.
Surely not unforgivable.
No, that is too strong a word.
I love you. I'm sorry you don't believe it.
I'd rather not go into that. I don't mean to add your unhappiness, but none of these words apply to me. I can't help it if you love me. I only ask to be left alone.
Why won't you understand?
Don't squeal at me. I'm not in the habit of being squealed at. I'm resolved to avoid anything approaching a quarrel. At any rate, I will not contribute to it.
I see it as impossible.
If you're quite done with me, I'll say good day to you.
Henry Ford is quoted in the paper as saying that for every minute of action, there should be an hour of thought.
Suppose you'd like me to be still.
Well, you misunderstand me, dear. Though you don't seem to be enjoying yourself.
I think I ought to return to school this afternoon.
Your mother will disapprove, but you're married to your books, I dare say. Don't talk if you don't feel like it.
I can't quite make out exactly what I mean to say. I hope you don't mind.
I don't mind a bit. So please don't you mind either. Any wine left?
want to reconsider that move. You left your knight undefended.
I met Edward in town and coerced him into giving me a lift. Tea.
Mr. Lawrence.
Miss Hazlitt. Your mother is in good health.
Yes, she's doing very well. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. And your sister?
She is always in excellent health.
I didn't know you were home.
Only the weekend, I'm afraid.
Yes, of course. Well, I must be going. Please give your family my best regards.
Thank you. I will. Uncle Bill? May I speak to you?
Sophie, there you are. Come in.
I understand that there is a fellowship to the University of Chicago available.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
I would like to apply for it.
I will inquire into it if you like. This is rather sudden, isn't it?
You think it is impulsive? I suppose it seems so.
No. Chicago research is of a very high class, and they're always looking for new talent.
I think that this is for the best. It's uncertain whether I shall do better anywhere else, but I think that the time has come for trying.
Your father always wished you to better yourself.
This does not indicate some disappointment in the facilities here. That is far from the case. I just believe strongly, as I believe anything, that I ought to go.
You'll need written testimonials from your lecturers and supervisor, which should not pose a problem.
Then there is nothing to prevent my leaving as soon as possible?
Is that important?
I think so.
I simply can't imagine how I shall be able to bear this place without you. What will become of me? Well, there's a perfectly simple way out of this. I shall have to get myself expelled. But the ways and means. Abuse my library privilege.
Easy enough to arrange, but lacking in polish.
When were you going to tell me? I heard it from Townsend. Isn't this moving from the skillet to the fire?
Don't be insolent.
Scathing lampoon pinned to the college notice
An
board.
attractive idea, but probably the porter would come and whisk it away before any harm was done.
How awkward.
I'm afraid you're stuck.
So it would seem.
I thought you were supposed to be some sort of genius.
That doesn't mean I can think straight. Please be sympathetic.
Well, I will write you in my loneliness long anecdotal scribbles meant for posthumous publication by my literary executor. I don't like this postcard fad. You must reply with real letters.
I'll do my best.
And what could be better than Sophie's best?
You don't have to feel we cannot get on if you really must throw yourself in the soup this way.
I don't have to feel anything. I tried that.
Have you seen Sophie? I was looking for her. She didn't come down to lunch.
Is she in her room?
No, of course I looked there first.
I'll check the greenhouse.
You aren't angry with her for wanting to study elsewhere.
Well, I suppose I am being selfish, but one oughtn't to go plunging off on wild adventures.
I never gave her credit for such independence of thought. The move will be very good for her, I'm quite sure.
I've tried to reconcile myself to the prospect, but I feel very deeply that she may be lost to me. I can't think what is happening. First Edward is leaving, and now you.
Edward is leaving?
He starts for Europe on Saturday. You knew nothing of this. We all seem to be walking around in a fog.
But he can't leave. He mustn't be driven from his home. It's too awful for words.
Oh, I know, dear, but there's no reasoning with him.
How miserable everything is.
I've tried to console myself with the hope that there may have developed an attachment between you and Edward, or at least a fondness for each other's society.
Oh, Mother.
I do wish you liked him.
I do like him. I love him.